I'm going to call to order the August 6, 2024 regular meeting of the Chino Valley Planning and Zoning Commission. Commissioner Zamudio, would you like to say the pledge for us today?
Yes, please.
Or lead us?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So we have a full commission tonight, so we got that done. I'd like to move forward to item C, which is the consent calendar, which amounts to the approval of the July 16th, 2024 meeting minutes. Can I get a motion?
Make a motion to accept as printed.
Do I get
I'll
a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, so the next item is ZC 2024-03. I'm going to recuse myself as chair and leave the room because I have a successful building project with the gentleman that's coming before the commission tonight that I've already done years ago, and I'll turn it over to the vice chair, Pasiak. So excuse me.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Vice Chair and fellow commissioners. My name is Jessica Berrigan, your senior planner for the town of Chino Valley. Before you this evening, I will be presenting the rezone request.
One moment. Are there any disclosures from the, commission other than
Oh.
the chair? All right, fine.
Oh, it
Thank
just wasn't
Any other
turned on.
disclosures?
My computer wasn't on. Okay,
You press the button?
yes, now it is.
Okay.
Is it on? Yes.
Please continue.
Thank you. Okay, this evening we are presenting the rezone request for case number ZC 2024-03. This is for Rustic Ironworks. This parcel is located at 3381 North State Route 89. It's approximately 3.5 miles north from our current location. And again, this property is zoned CL for commercial light, AR agricultural. As you can see here, the property directly to the north of the subject property and the south are both zoned CL/AR-5. That's a commercial light with an AR agricultural residential 5-acre minimum. Both the north and south sites are vacant. Across the highway directly to the west is currently zoned commercial heavy CH, and it is occupied by Drill Tech Inc. And the properties abutting the subject property to the subject parcel directly to the east are currently zoned CH, commercial heavy. They are also owned and operated by the applicant. The applicant's family business is named Rustic Ironworks. They are a design and manufacture wholesale metal. They wholesale metal products. The family is requesting this rezone of their own property to allow for the expansion of their existing family-owned and operated business. Though the land itself will remain undeveloped for the time being, in order to expand, they will need to undergo a lot line adjustment. And in order to do the lot line adjustment, it will require a rezone for consistency with the abutting parcel that they own. Therefore, the owner/applicant here today is requesting to rezone to commercial heavy CH zoning district. This is a reasonable request, which allows the owner and the applicant the opportunity to expand their current family-owned operations. As you can see here, the subject property falls within the light industrial LI land use designation as it is defined in the town's recently adopted Make It Chino 2040 general plan. The description for the land use designation does support light manufacturing uses, and as such, the request is in conformance with the intent of the town's general plan. A neighborhood meeting was held for this project on July 3rd. 4 neighbors were in attendance and no concerns were expressed over the rezone itself. With that being said, the rezone proposal does conform again to the town's general plan light industrial land use designation that was mentioned in the previous slides. Staff does support the request and recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission forward a favorable recommendation of approval for ZC 2024-03 to the Town Council with the conditions of approval that were found in the attachments, in Attachment A of your packet. This does conclude staff's presentation, and I am available for any questions regarding the rezone. Thank you.
Are there any questions from commissioners for the staff? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And would the applicant, is he present? And would he like to come up and make a presentation?
You don't have to. No.
Okay.
Applicant's present and doesn't have anything to add.
All right. Does the commission have any questions for the applicant? We're now open for public comment. Does the public want to make any comments? Okay. Guess we'll close the public hearing. And I'll entertain a motion on ZC 2024-03.
I move to approve zone change ZC 2024-03 is presented, subject to the staff report and information provided during this hearing and the conditions of approval on attachment A.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Could we have the chairman please come back?
Lost half of the audience.
See, let me go double check.
Thank you.
Misspelled.
Okay, so we'll move forward to item D2, which is ZC 2024-04. This is a request by Augustin Bogier, I probably butchered that, I'm sorry, on behalf of Meadowview North LLC for a rezone of approximately 10 acres of land from agricultural residential minimum 5 acres, AR5, to single-family residential minimum 1,200 square feet, which is SF 12, or 12,000 square feet, which is SF 12,000. The property is located on the north side of East Road 2 North between Pepper Tree Place and James Drive, Chino Valley, Arizona. Parcel number 306-18-017C and 306-18-017D. Has anybody on the commission discussed anything of this with anybody? I've had some discussion with Commissioner Switzer, which amounted to just wondering why we were looking at it again. And then, nobody else? Right. So we wait with bated breath.
Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome.
Again, Vice Chair and fellow commissioners, thank you for having me here today and for hearing this item. It's a request for consideration of a rezone from AR5, that's agricultural residential, to single-family residential, 12,000 square foot minimum. The request is case number ZC 2024-04. This consists of 2 parcels with which a cumulative size of approximately 10 acres of land. The 2 parcels are identified on the northern side of East Road 2 North between Pepper Tree Place and James Drive. It's approximately 1 mile northeast of our current location here today. As you can see here, the properties directly to the north and the south of the subject parcels belong to Chino Meadows and Chino Meadows Unit 2, which are Zone SR, Single Family Residential 0.16. These are single-family residential lots, sizes at 7,000 square feet or larger, minimum. The properties to both the east and the west are currently vacant, and they are zoned public land to the west and AR5 to the east. That's agricultural residential 5-acre minimum. The subject property falls within the neighborhood residential and R land use designation as it is defined in the town's recently adopted Make It Chino 2040 general plan. The description for the land use designation supports lots greater than 12,000 square feet, as well as manufactured home subdivisions. As such, this request does conform with the intent of the town's planned growth described in the general plan. A neighborhood meeting was held for this request last month on July 3rd. 2 neighbors were in attendance, and there was no concerns over the request, the rezone request itself. Concerns that were expressed revolved around the HOA maintenance and the potential for children getting into the detention basins during monsoon seasons. But again, there's no concerns over the request to rezone itself. In front of you is an image of the applicant's conceptual community site plan. As you can see, the concept site plan demonstrates the proposed building locations, along with parking and access configurations, open spaces, and soft trails. The applicant will be coming before you at a later date with the preliminary plating of the site, at which point will address much of the site's technical engineering criteria, grading, drainage, utility, landscape lighting, and general infrastructure, which is required in preparation for the project's final plating. Both the preliminary plat and the final plat will be required to go through the same discretionary review process that is before you today. And we will need to see that prior to final motions from the council, and also prior to final site plan approval for building permit plan reviews. So it will be going through the preliminary plat at a later date, and then final platting at a later date after that. For context, here is an image of the applicant's product showing the exterior facade design and elevations. Additionally, the applicant did provide some concept designs for the interior design of the product. The rezone proposal conforms with the town's general plan vision for planned growth. Staff supports the request and recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission forward a favorable recommendation of approval for ZC 2024-04 to the Town Council with conditions of approval found in Attachment A of your packet. This does conclude staff's presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Anybody have questions for staff?
They are hooking up to water and sewer.
Yes, they are planning to hook up to water and sewer.
I have as far as the road alignment, is there plans to widen to north?
Let's see, the conditions of approval do state that there will be some widening that will come before you at the preliminary plat stage.
So that is part of the plan, is to widen
Yes.
to north.
Commissioner Matters?
Big question on condition number 11 about the utility lines. As I know, several other projects in town got discontinued and the properties are now for sale because the electric power lines had to be moved. And I drove past this, and it's like we've got major power lines going through there. And it says here that anything that's adjacent to the property has got to go underground. So are they moving the power lines? Or are they in that easement for the left turn lane? Or are they going to have to put them underground?
That's a good question. I believe the applicant is working with APS to determine that.
Okay. Because I know there's ones that go along the property line on the east that goes back to the Prescott well.
Yes, it is. There's a,
But there's
I-
a bigger power
3.
line that goes down too. So, is that gonna stay in there? Like, the picture shows that there's like the easement with the sidewalk and the landscaping. So I didn't know if they were gonna be putting the power lines underground so that they can put that left turn lane in, or how they're gonna accomplish that.
so the applicant's working with APS to determine that. That will come before you at the preliminary plat stage with some conclusions or recommendations from APS to do that.
Okay.
The land to the west, the city of Prescott well facility, is that they have a facility there?
Directly to the west is vacant. However, there is a school that I don't believe they're running the school there anymore. Do you have any?
But does the city own the property?
City of Prescott.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of Commission, there is a small utility well house on site right directly north of the Two North. It's actually borderline right-of-way parcel, but the remainder is vacant land owned by City of Prescott.
Okay. And that's OSP Park and Open Space. So
Zone is just public land. It's essentially the same designation as OSP, similar uses within there.
Oh, there's a little thing right here.
Anybody else have any questions?
I think for the applicant.
Okay, we'll probably call you back up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so this part of the meeting, the applicant can come up and let us know what he's trying to do, if he's here.
I'm right here.
Stage.
Jessica did a great job. I don't think I. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we may have
The
questions as well.
applicant doesn't have anything further to add.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank
Okay,
you.
so we may have, state your name, please.
Augustine Bogier.
Thank you. I'm sorry I messed up your name.
No, you're good. Thank you.
What I'd like to do is give the commission an opportunity to ask you a few questions if you're not gonna offer any presentation.
Okay.
All right, so Commissioner Switzer?
So my question, so one of the concerns of the neighbors was, is there going to be an HOA for open space and landscaping?
Yes.
And then, so there will be an HOA?
Yes.
And the retention basins, is there any plan of any facilities or anything in the retention? They're just going to be open or fenced or?
Yeah, just open.
Okay, so
For
those,
now, that's the plan. If we need to get into deeper, we'll find out.
so no recreation or anything for the residents. And then, would the HOA include road maintenance?
Inside,
Correct.
our plan was to make those roads public.
Okay, I would like to see an HOA include road maintenance. The town of Chino Valley
Okay.
roads don't have
I'll put
money
that
to
down.
take care of more roads, let alone we already have, so
Point of order, we cannot require HOA.
the developer can.
Yeah, but that would make it a private road.
Correct.
So, just because we're kind of getting into some unknown territory, which I know where you're trying to go with this, that when the town dedicates a road, gets a road dedicated to it by a subdivision developer, it meets all the town standards. Is there a way that the developer could be kept responsible for road maintenance after that happens?
Chair, Vice Chair, members of Commission, that is something a little bit outside of my wheelhouse. That'd be more for Public Works during the preliminary plating. We can condition that. If they are forming that HOA you're likely going to have them retain it as a private road for that kind of maintenance. We can get into CFDs or community facility districts where they have, similar to what Prescott Valley does, where they don't have a primary property tax like us, but they have districts where they pay a tax into specific, but that is a completely different scope for tonight. I will say that there's an option, but at this point, I would say leave that for the platting stage.
Okay, and unfortunately, town engineer isn't here, but are you satisfied with that?
Sure. Yeah, I can
Okay.
go preliminary prac and
Commissioner
address
Metters?
that.
Have you decided what brand mobile home you're gonna use, and what is your ideal price, starting price for this for the neighborhood?
So we typically go with Cavco or Fleetwood, which is just a subsection of, it's a subsidiary of Cavco. And then in terms of price, that has not been determined just yet. It's going to really depend on what our infrastructure costs are going to be, and then what the factory is going to end up charging us. So we're hoping it starts with a 3 is our goal.
As your package says that your idea is to make this affordable housing, and with the garage and sidewalks and all the infrastructure, it usually gets outside of.
It's
Basic
always our
price.
goal. Now, whether or not that's attainable, we're going to try our hardest by bidding it out to as many people as possible and try to get the best value. But that's going to be our number one goal.
And when do you think you'll start on this project if it's passed?
If it's passed and we can get through final plat by January or February, we'll start right there and then.
Okay. There's
And-
too many projects we pass and then they never get
And
started.
Will, do we have a sunset clause on this
Yeah,
in the conditions?
So staff did not recommend that because this project does conform, this request conforms to the general plan. So the general plan calls for this area to be between 4 to 1 dwelling unit per acre. So it is absolutely the prerogative of the commission to include a sunset
I
clause.
would still like to see a
Sure,
sunset clause.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We've had some unfortunate things happen when we didn't do that. So
Absolutely.
I agree with that 100%.
What's a reasonable time that you think is a reasonable time?
Great question. Whatever the commission thinks is appropriate, we would be happy to.
We'll
abide by
probably
it.
call town staff up maybe and let them offer some input as well on that.
We would need to put something in tonight, though, right?
Correct. Yes. Yes, Commission.
Yeah, it's in our
'Cause
best
most of-
interest.
Most of ours have been 2 years.
Turn dirt,
I'm sorry?
turn dirt in 2 years.
I would say a minimum of 2 years. I would like to maybe go a little longer than that, only because from personal experience in my construction business, 2 years sounds like a lot until you get in the middle of it.
Yeah, three.
Maybe something like 4 or 5 years. I know that sounds long, but there's a lot of stuff that has to happen before he can turn a shovel full of dirt.
And
And it would be a shame to scare him off.
If I could,
What
Well,
does town
state-
recommend?
I was going to say, if I could chime in here, the plating process, we're always optimistic that we get plans in at a good quality and we can review them in under one cycle. It's rarely the case. We're typically about 1.5 years on plans right now, just based on time frame with engineering and everything.
And this is for subdivision.
This is for subdivision, correct?
That, I would concur that that's probably an accurate estimate. So
4 years?
4 years would be acceptable, in my opinion. How about you, Al? Would that be
That would be
acceptable for
acceptable.
you?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so I think we should include that, and I definitely believe that it needs to be in there.
And then the improvements on Merritt Lane, it says it's supposed to be 25 foot in one place and 50 foot on another. It's like, isn't that just a neighborhood street should be 25 foot?
Or let me see, Jess, if you could pull up that slide. Or Augustine. Yeah.
Page 8.
So it is 6C Merritt Lane, the north 25 feet of the subdivision equating to the total Merritt Lane right of way at 50 feet.
So there's
So-
25 feet already.
Yep.
And so we're adding an additional 25 feet.
That is correct.
But just in subdivisions, isn't it always just 25 foot?
The improvement is 25 foot. The total right of way is still 50.
Okay.
Yeah, right below an item E, it says minimum right-of-way width is 50 feet.
Okay.
And obviously, all of the, and this will be decided in final plat, but all the
That is-
roads meet the turning radiuses and all that good business,
Yeah.
which will be
Correct.
decided by the civil engineer.
And
Okay,
and do you plan on low water use landscaping?
Yes,
Okay.
low
Oh.
irrigation, plants as well. Absolutely.
And the homes come front yard landscaped?
No, but they will be part of the, there'll be gravel, but likely not many plants. We haven't really determined that just yet. And
But gravel
we'll have
landscaping.
HOA rules relative to the plant selection that's approved, a whole approved list.
Okay.
Part of the HOA.
yeah, and
Yes,
that,
exactly.
that stuff will become more apparent.
In the final,
in the
in the
final plat.
preliminary plat.
But it's good for you to know in advance where we're headed.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, it's super helpful. This is my first time doing this, so
Well, we look mean, but we're not too bad.
no, you guys are great. Thank you so much.
Anybody else have questions?
Yeah, I have one. The open space, will any of it benefit the people moving in? Playground for kids, dog, place to walk your dog, things like that?
There is a walking path across the site plan, and I'll pull it up just for everyone to be able to see it. So we've got a walking path and sidewalk for people who are going to take their dogs out. It goes around here and then around here, and we'll have some benches and some
Please step up to the mic, otherwise the folks in the public can't hear
Sorry.
you.
We'll have some benches and, places for people to discard their pets, those little pet waste bags. And then, like I mentioned, the sidewalk will be just to promote circulation, pedestrian circulation. So in terms of open parks, I don't think we'll have that.
And I think I see that the interior has a sidewalk around the whole interior section.
Correct.
One
Yeah.
side,
Mhm.
just one side of the street.
That's right.
Yeah, that's fine.
Anybody else? Thank you, sir.
Thank
We
you.
may call you back up.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Commission.
Okay, so we're gonna open the public portion of the meeting for this item only. If you choose to speak, we'll ask you to step up to the mic, state your name. We'll give you 3 minutes to speak. Please be polite. Please be concise. It doesn't look like we have a lot of people, so I shouldn't have to warn about being repetitive, but I always like to throw that out there. We keep good notes up here, and whatever you say gets written down. Okay, so having said that, who would like to speak? Would you please step up to the mic and state your name? You got to step right up to the mic.
My name is Mark Stokes. I'm new to Chino Valley. I live, if you look at that last diagram, Tumbleweed. I'm 2 doors down, just bought my house there. We have a problem in that intersection, and I just got it, so I wasn't able to be here for the meeting in July. Thank you. Yeah, I'm down here at the bottom. That's Tumbleweed. You got Pepper Tree. The next one is Tumbleweed, and I'm 2 doors down. So my concern is about, I was a licensed plumbing contractor and underground utility contractor. And so I'm concerned about is the groundwater coming into that area of Second. I know it's an older subdivision and doesn't have a lot of areas for the drainage. So I'm concerned is when they put this in, if it passes, that it's going to add flooding to that. So they just did an intersection. If you go toward 89, they just did the 4 corners there. Did a really nice job. I was concerned, are they going to do anything like that to keep us from getting flooded in our subdivision from this? I know they talk about the bioswales, whatever, collection ponds. Are they going to be adequate enough for all this water runoff? And as a homeowner, right now I've already got like 4 inches, and it wasn't divulged to me when I bought it. That's okay. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about waterfront property here. So, and anyway, that's all I had to say. But I appreciate it. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I usually don't let them come up twice, but we're a little slow tonight.
Also, the water pressure in there, and I did go to the water district, had them check my water meter, and I was a plumbing contractor, so that'd be where I would start if you called me out. I haven't heard back from them yet, but we don't have the minimum required water pressure in that area, at least a few of my neighbors. I don't know if it's consistent with, water usage more in the morning when people are, taking showers and getting ready for work, but it's roughly about 25 PSI, and my house was just repiped, so I haven't got to the bottom of that, but as they hook up to the water system, it's going to get worse. So thank you folks for your time.
You bet. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Please step up and state your name.
That's not on town water.
Hi, I'm Andy Strange, and I just had a question too about that area right there at 1 East and 2 North. When they do construction there, it's a mess. It closes off any access down to Safeway, down to 89. We're going all the way through neighborhoods and stuff. So just concern for a larger project like this, how they're going to accomplish that with traffic. There's a lot of people accessing 2 North up and down. So that's a concern of mine. And then when you say they're going to widen the road just in front of that, because that road is very narrow anyway.
So the developer is only obligated to develop one side of the road in front of the area that he's going to develop.
Wow. Okay. And how many homes are in there?
23.
How many? I'm sorry?
23.
23. Okay. Just, I don't know. The roads are very, very narrow there. So concerned again about the traffic. And then if this is going to be a 2 to 5 year project, the traffic detours around that area, I would be concerned about.
Anything else?
Not at the moment.
All right. Thank you.
Like this right now.
Anybody else like to speak? All right, we're going to close the public portion of the meeting for this item, and we're going to call town staff up. All right, Jessica, maybe you could,
One more question too.
oh, okay, maybe you could give us a little education on the drainage. I know you're not a road person, but there's a certain process involved with any subdivision which calls for a civil engineer to do all the drainage. In this case, that will be correct?
Yes, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. The drainage concerns are going to be finalized during the final plat. The applicant has already started working with town staff in addressing some of those concerns. Some of the added detention basin was also added to this concept to alleviate that. All the landscaping, the drainage, grading, everything will have to be done by a licensed professional. So that will come before you more than likely during the preliminary plat stage, as well as a traffic study to address any traffic concerns during and after the construction.
Okay, and Will, you can correct me here if I'm wrong, but as a normal course of events, any subdivision, all drainage, roads, infrastructure are all designed by a licensed civil engineer and approved by the town engineer. Is that correct?
That is correct, Chair.
And as a tradition, water comes in at the traditional spot and leaves at the traditional spot. Is that correct?
Traditional spot and traditional capacity.
Very good. Thank you. Anybody have questions? Go ahead.
It's stated in here that the flow of the water was to the north and west. The property is graded down. The low end is on 2 North, so I don't understand how that's considered drainage going to the north and west when that's the higher part of the property and the lower end of the property is on 2 North. I would think that the drainage ditches and all would be on the south end of the development.
So I believe the applicant can talk to this if needed, but the site will likely be mass graded. And the basin where it's located, being at the northwest corner, will likely be a product of that mass grading to flow. And then the outlets will be in traditionally the same location.
They're just gonna bulldoze at level?
I don't,
Well, okay, so we'll have the owner come up. Thank you, Jessica. Right. So we'll go down the road of drainage just a small bit because really that's a thing for the final plat. And again, it will all be designed by a civil engineer. So you've heard the concern that the final drainage that you're proposing is kind of contrary to what's existing now,
Correct.
and you're aware of that? And
Yes.
you have plans to deal with that?
Yeah, and we'll be mass grading the entire site. And as mentioned, we had a house that was replaced with a detention center to address this concern and make sure that we have enough open space to hold the water.
Okay, so that's what the two open spaces basically are, their primary function is to be detention areas or retention areas.
Correct.
Okay.
Chair, if I might add, this again is just for the zoning entitlements for this evening. Anything specific to the actual technical aspects will be addressed with the plating process.
Correct. We kind of got off track a bit, but we got to let him know where he's headed.
Yeah.
And will these detention basins also serve as a reclamation source for water? I know we're, the town and the AMA and the Quad Cities is all heading that direction, so why not start now?
That is something we can absolutely discuss through the plating process for sure.
I will just add on the question of water and the PSI, we are actually building from Road 1 East all the way to Pepper Tree Place, about 1,000 lineal feet of city water line. So we'll be tapping into actual city water and city sewer, or town sewer, town water, I'm sorry. And the subdivision to the south where you live is a private water company. Okay, yeah, of course. I just want to ring it up. No, of course. I just want to address that. Just yeah. And so, yeah, like I mentioned, we'll be building, a lot of the town's infrastructure, extending that water line.
You've heard some concerns about traffic. Most of the site work that'll be done will not be in the road right away. You do have a responsibility for a strip along the front of the subdivision, but that is not the mass grading thing that you're talking about that will take weeks and weeks and weeks to do. You will be bringing utilities up, so there will be some daily traffic issues until that's completed, but that's kind of what we're dealing with all over town right now anyways.
Correct. And we'll have all the necessary traffic control practices in place during all of that work to make sure that traffic is as least impacted as possible.
All right. Thank you. Anybody else have questions? All right. Okay, so we've asked questions, we've gotten public comments. P&Z people have quizzed everybody. So I'm going to close the public hearing portion of this and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, move to approve rezone ZC 202404 as presented, subject to the staff report and information provided during this hearing and the conditions of approval A and attachment A, as well as a 4-year sunset clause.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? This will be a roll call vote. Commissioner, well, go ahead. You call them and let them vote.
Commissioner Welker,
Yes.
Commissioner Penn,
Yes.
Commissioner Maders,
Yes.
Commissioner Switzer,
Yes.
Commissioner Zamudio,
Yes.
Vice Chair Paziak,
Yes.
Chair Merritt.
Yes. So the motion is carried unanimously. All right, thank you. Okay, we're going to move to item E, action items, which on the agenda says none. Item F is information items. F1 staff, have we got anything to report to us?
Got a couple.
Oh, don't leave yet. It gets really interesting. Thank you.
All righty. So, good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, members of Commission. We do have two items for tonight. First one is in regards to our call for special studies, or special Planning and Zoning Commission hearing on August 27th. We sent out a meeting polling everybody. It seems like it was the general consensus that that is a good date. Town Council does not meet on that date. They get a break. We do not. That meeting specifically will be for Connex boxes, both residential and commercial. So we'll do it again. Lastly, this is just a brief kind of talk in regards to a couple of development, or a development that's kind of circulating on social media in regards to the solar facility, the Draconis project. Pass around just a couple of generic statements of things. Let me get this out to you guys.
And we told that
Here,
one
we'll
lady,
just send them down. Will.
and we told that one lady, no, there was no solar discussion.
Will, before you get into that, was August 27th, we have a special meeting?
Correct, yes, sir.
6 o'clock.
So yeah, normal time. So what's making around to the commission right now is just a brief memo. Last Thursday, it was released that there was a solar project in our area looking to receive their interconnection agreement between APS and their conceptual plan at this date. It is not a town-led initiative, town-led project. They are simply reserving the community center building. This is not anything that the town is involved in at this stage. The solar committee that we have formed under the direction of council through the general plan approval, that committee is still meeting and crafting regulations regarding solar facilities, large scale within the town of Chino Valley limits. And that will come to through the commission here before the end of 2024, where we can get into all the nitty gritty of what standards. If there are standards, there can be the exclusionary. We do not want these in Chino Valley, but we are still working on those regulations. So just to reiterate that the proposal, the cycle that's going around right now, it's in the paper, it's on social media, citizens are getting text messages and letters, is not a town-led project. It is strictly between the developer Draconis and APS on their interconnection and that facilitation.
Is the facility within Chino Valley,
From what we understand, yes.
out on the?
The far east end, yeah, correct. So and what's being discussed is strictly how, if that facility was approved, how would they get the power generated to the grid? That interconnection to that power supply out there.
So is it inappropriate to caution the commission that they should receive all their information from town staff?
I would agree.
Okay, so I'm going to highly encourage everybody to avoid any conflict of interest, or at the meeting when I ask you if you've had a discussion about it, that you spend 10 minutes telling me that you spent all day with the guy. I would caution you to avoid doing that, because there are things at stake here much bigger than what we normally deal with, and we should gather our information from town staff only, because they will have to legally provide us with the straight information. So did everybody kind of understand that?
I would like to also comment that if more than three, if a quorum of the commissioners show at any of these meetings, it would be violation of open meeting law.
laws.
That is correct.
Yep, and our Vice Chair Pasiak is our parliamentarian, and he keeps us on track by
He will.
bringing things like that up frequently.
Staff will attend these meetings,
Yes.
so we will
and-
report.
But to put the shoe on the other foot, we are expecting town staff to come to us so that we can be fully prepared with accurate information when time comes for us to deal with this.
That is 100% correct.
Okay. All right, did I make my point there, everybody?
Yes, sir.
All right,
That is all for staff.
all right, so anything else, Will?
Negative.
Does there anybody on the commission have any comments or anything that they would like to say at the meeting tonight? Nope. Okay, so this is the part where the chair gets an opportunity to speak what I would like to visit about tonight is Commissioner Swisser is now going to be a town councilman. I hope he remembers us little people when he moves up into the big leagues. We've been very fortunate that out of the zoning commission, there's a fair number of town councilmen that have gone that route. I think this is a good.
Including mayor.
Yes, exactly. And this is a good way to get trained in how to deal with stuff like that. And I know that he's going to be excellent at his job, just like he does real well for us here. Just say congratulations.
Definitely.
Okay. So this is an opportunity for the public to speak about anything that is not on the agenda. This is your chance to come up and ask questions or make a statement. We cannot respond, but we're willing to let you tell us what you think. Anybody want to have at it?
Is this with the solar?
Pardon me?
Is this?
Step up to the mic, state your name, and you can say whatever you like for 3 minutes, provided I don't tell you to sit down.
Okay, my name is Barbara Salaya.
Uh-huh.
Does this have to do with the solar?
The solar?
Solar, for your homes?
Yes, this only has to do with what, if you have a concern about it, you might state that you have a concern about the solar project.
Okay, I do.
Okay, and then what I would do at that point is direct you to visit with town staff at the city hall, appropriately Will or Jessica
Okay.
Berrigan there, and they will probably be able to answer your questions because we can't do that right now.
Okay,
Did I take care of that for you?
I guess so at the moment.
All right, thank you. Anybody else?
Jessica can take your information.
Right, I'm going to close the public portion of the meeting and move to our favorite part, which is a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I second.
Y'all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you folks out there for participating.